which we are sitting on a time bomb, because if more than 70% of young people are unemployed, anything is possible in the country. We are sitting on a time bomb. Anything, these people can easily get mobilized to rebel against the state because of poverty that they are facing from time to time. And the frustrations, not true that there is no money in South Africa. There is money in South Africa. South Africa is a rich country. In actual fact, there should be nobody in South Africa that can go to bed without food. Yeah. We are the richest country in the continent. Chris Ane was going to cry if we are still alive. And we decided to form a government of national unity for no apparent reason. We are not contesting ANC. We are contesting state and popular power. And our alliance was not formed on the basis of contesting elections. Okay. This is a revolutionary alliance for the SACP and the ANC. Okay. Actually, Helen Zille said it several times that they were representing business. They were not representing the working class and poor people. And it's them that saw the coalition of ANC, EFF, and MKP to be dangerous for the country. So they ran a propaganda that this will be the collapse of a South African economy if the organizations are going to be in a coalition. But if South Africa can say, no, Mswati, as the South African government, we are no longer working with you because you are not a democratic country. So we're cutting ties, we're sanctioning Swaziland. But I can tell you, Swaziland can come to its senses.
Welcome to another episode of The People's Eye. My name is Sizwe Samayende. I am your host. Today we're talking politics. Politics, strictly politics. Our visitor is the secretary of the SACP, South African Communist Party in Mpumalanga, Mr. Mbuyane. We're going to speak various issues. There have been many announcements. There've been a major announcement, basically, by the party that it intends or has decided, he will clarify, to contest state power, as they put it, or just to stand alone in the upcoming local government elections in 2026, and various other issues that we're going to discuss. Welcome, Mr. Mbuyane.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samayende. We want to appreciate the opportunity to be invited to the People's Eye. Actually, we feel privileged as a South African Communist Party that is representing the working class and poor people, especially their interests and aspirations. So when we're invited to come to the People's Eye and articulate our position and the posture of the organization, we really appreciate this opportunity. Indeed, we are a party that is 103 years old now. It was established in 1921 at Cape Town. We have been in the struggle for the rest of our existence as a South African Communist Party. It was unbroken struggle where we sacrificed many communists because communists are always the first to arrive in a battlefield and the last to leave. So many communists like Chris Ane, like Vuyisile, Mini, Harry Kwala, you can name them, died in the line of struggle. So we're proud of our history as a South African Communist Party.
Yeah. Interesting that you older than the SACP is older than the ANC. It's very interesting. I think it's a fact that many people don't know. I think the ANC, formation of the ANC started around 1912, if I'm not mistaken. Very interesting. But what does the SACP stand for? What it stood for before democracy, and maybe what it's standing for now in the new dispensation in a democratic South Africa, if anything has changed?
The South African Communist Party is standing for socialism and communism. That's what we want to bring to South Africa. Because to us, it's socialism or barbarism, which is capitalism, where it's a dog-eat-dog kind of a situation. So we are convinced, as Karl Marx will clearly puts it, that each according to his ability
Yes.
and each according to his needs. So since 1921, the Communist Party has been fighting for socialism, but as we were fighting for socialism, which we believe that we're going to take South Africa to socialism, especially after the 1917 Great Revolution in Russia, which was led by Lenin, and Russia became the first country all over the world to be liberated. Wanted also to do the same in South Africa. But the Communist International, Comintern, came to South Africa and advised the South African Communist Party that the popular and big organization in South Africa is the African National Congress. And as a result of that, through our Black Republic thesis of 1929, we had to form an alliance with the ANC. It's us that called for the African National Congress to form an alliance with communists and workers, because by then the ANC was called ANC, which was African National Native Congress.
Yes.
So it was not vibrant, it was not democratic, because women were not given positions and not even speaking in meetings. It was chiefs and pastors that could speak in a meeting of the ANC. So the Communist Party went to form alliance, made the ANC to be vibrant, and said to ANC, we can always go to Britain and ask for liberation. We must fight for liberation. And as a result of that, the ANC began to be in a struggle, fighting for people of South Africa to be liberated, and to advise the ANC to form the ANC Youth League, which 1944, the ANC brought the ANC Youth League, and the ANC Youth League took the front line of our struggle, which led to the 1994 liberation in South Africa. But through the struggle, many events took place. You can include the Morogoro Conference, you can include the banning of the Communist Party of South Africa in 1950, because we're the first political party in the country to be banned by the National Party when it came to power in 1948 and introduce apartheid. So wanted to bring socialism. And in 1962, we had our own program, the Road to South African Freedom, which was proposing that we go straight to liberate South Africa. But because our communists were disciplined, we had to adhere to a number of things which we believe that the ANC must lead the revolution. And in Morogoro Conference 1969, where Chris Ane wrote a memorandum of 7 pages to the president, Oliver Tambo, by then, demanding that the ANC will need to take the struggle serious. And as a result of that, the ANC came up with 4 pillars that were about to liberate South Africa. And ANC pronounced itself that indeed, with regard to the developments that are taking place all over the world, we are for socialism as the African National Congress, which they developed a green book to that effect, saying we want to liberate people of South Africa and also want socialism, because we're not a narrow, chauvinistic liberation movement, but we are a class organization, which we are neither capitalist nor a socialist organization, but we are biased towards the working class and poor people. So the 4 pillars ANC came up with in Morogoro Conference were about, one, it was a mass struggle that people of South Africa have to go to the streets, fight. Secondly, it was about the armed struggle that MK must liberate South Africa. Thirdly, it was about the underground struggle, sending comrades to come and mobilize. Thirdly, it was about the international mobilization, the question of sanctions, which the whole world decided to sanction South Africa so as we are liberated. We are so proud about those achievements because Comrade Chris Ane was at the front, actually was nearly killed. Comrade Chris, for writing a memorandum and push that Morogoro Conference must sit. He was arrested and he was in a sitting alone, confined, that he must be killed. Actually, he was taken even to a place where he had to dig his own grave for the whole night. And in the morning, when he was supposed to be shot to death, commanders were called to come and say, we're going to give orders, you must shoot Chris Ane to die. And they counted from 3. When they arrived at 1, all commanders put their guns down.
Yo.
And the commanders of those commanders had to run away, because if a soldier is putting a gun down, then you must think twice. What is the soldier going to do?
Yeah.
They did not shoot Chris. And Oliver Tambo intervened and said no. What Chris Hani has written in that memorandum is trying to say we need to think twice about our revolution. What we're doing in exile now, some of you are having businesses, your children are oversight. So you have begun to sell the revolution of South Africa. That's what Chris Hani is raising. And you must go to a Morocco conference to go and look, where is our revolution? What do we do to liberate people of South Africa? And as a result of that, there was Morocco conference. And we're proud that Oliver Tambo did not even stay in the conference. He said, no, look, the memorandum is about me as a person, and I can't preside over a conference that is challenging me. He left. He left, and comrades like J.P. Marx had to preside over the conference. Up until at the tailing end of that meeting, Oliver Tambo had to be called and say, "We're done, President. Come and take over." Then he came and take over. And that's where the 4 pillars I'm speaking about were adopted. That's where white people were allowed to join the ANC, Ocho Slovo, for the first time. That's where women were allowed also to take a membership of the ANC and lead the ANC to that effect. So we played that role, but also underground. We're talking about Sasol here in Mpumalanga. Joe Slovo was leading soldiers to go and bomb Sasol during apartheid, doing the underground work with Ologanjana, with comrades like Ovoisile Min and others. We're talking about Fort Recker building. Joe Slovo was at the front of the underground work. Hence, we're saying communists played a vital role where we were vanguarding the revolution by then, because the Communist Party was a very small organization, very influential in the African National Congress, by then giving direction for our revolution on a number of circumstances until South Africa is liberated. Unfortunately, Chris Hani had to be killed in 1993. And by then, we had to take a decision that we must build a vanguard party with a mass character, because we had to start building structures of the South African Communist Party, believing that we must bring socialism in South Africa and represent the interest of the working class and poor people. So we're still biased towards, not actually biased, we're representing them fully, the interests and aspirations of the working class and poor people who are loyal to the working class. Everything that we're doing is for the working class, and our immediate enemy is monopoly capital. That is why the representatives of monopoly capital, you can be DA, whatever party, to us, those are representatives of our chief enemy of the revolution.
Yeah, true. It's a very important point. Okay, firstly, the history that you have just explained, gone through it. I mean, many people will never know. The young ones, the SACP and the ANC, they see it as one thing. But thanks for that explanation. Do you think, though, that the role that the SACP played in the anti-apartheid struggle is being overshadowed by the fact that you went into alliance with the ANC, so the ANC was a bigger organization, obviously?
No, I don't think our contribution to the struggle of South Africa has been overshadowed. I think each and every epoch, if you read about the history of South Africa, you shall find the footprints of the South African Communist Party. It was never overshadowed. We played our role. We're proud that we liberated this country. We're proud that 1994, we came to government with the ANC. And we think that that history is going to assist us to build a different South Africa going forward. Because where I'm seated now, for the past 30 years, a lot of things has been done by the ANC. Some of the things, even socialist countries did not achieve them, like building houses for the people of South Africa, like taking people to school without paying money, and access to healthcare by the poor people in this country. There are many good things that the ANC did, but there are also many things that the African National Congress did not do. And the problem which we encountered up to this far is the neoliberal trajectory. The economic policy that we are implementing in South Africa will never transform power from the ruling class or the bourgeoisies to the working class. The current economic policy, which is neoliberal trajectory, which is capitalism, maintain the status quo. The rich people must be rich, the poor people must be poor according to this neoliberal trajectory. That is why the party in COSATU, since 1996, we stood up and say a gear policy is part of neoliberal trajectory. It is going to make people to be poor, but it is going to make people not to get jobs, as unemployment is on the rise now in South Africa. Poverty is on the rise. The question of the inequality, poor people are getting worse, rich people are getting more rich in South Africa. It's because of the policy. So those are the things that we regret as a South African Communist Party, that South Africa is becoming more of another African country where only the elites who are in the echelons of government are living a better life. But the people that were representing, who are voting us into power, who think that we shall understand that the purpose of a revolution is all about transferring power from the ruling class to the working class, because the revolution is all about that. That is why people for close to 400 years were in a revolution. They were colonized, everything was taken, land, which land is having mineral resources, is having natural resources, that our people must be able to survive out of all those resources. The cattle for our people were taken. The land that is fertile, you can speak about Mbombela, which there's a song which is saying Yanyuki Mbombela, where people were taken to Kanyamazane, White River, people were taken to Kapokweni and so forth, because colonizers wanted that land to utilize for their own selfish interests. So we regret that our economic or the neoliberal trajectory is not intervening to the situation our people are finding themselves in.
A very important point, because what I've been asking myself, just like for many years, is you as the SACP, you've got your own ideology. The ANC has got its own ideology. Yes, the ANC's ideology is a mixed bag of socialist policies, but also neoliberal policies as well. But you are straightforward and strict that, look, we are for socialism, which eventually should be communism, if I'm putting it correctly. So this ideological difference of all these years, how have you been dealing with it? Because you're working together, you're in alliance. But for me, it's a major difference.
You got it right, Mr. Samayende. We are a class organization as the South African Communist Party, and we don't owe anybody any apology. We represent the poor people and the working class. The ANC is a multi-class organization. In ANC, you find poor people, rich people, all sorts of people, you find them in the ANC.
Broad church.
It's a broad church. So those are some of the issues that from time to time will make us to have differences. But we're able to manage our differences, the SACP and the African National Congress. And the reason why we're able to manage our differences is because the entire Revolutionary Alliance is guided by the National Democratic Revolution. It was guided. So what brings us together, let alone the issue of ideologies, but it's a national democratic revolution, which the National Democratic Revolution seeks to deal with the three intertwined and interwoven issues. That all the symptoms you are seeing around of poverty, social reproduction, and everything are as a result of the three issues, which are race, class, and gender. These are the issues that if you resolve them in South Africa, then you have resolved the issues of South Africa. And they are clearly articulated in the National Democratic Revolution to say we're coming from a society which was having a situation where a woman was oppressed 3 times. There was a triple oppression of women, oppressed by government, oppressed by the economy, oppressed by the social arrangement that the women could not speak in a mass meeting where we're coming from during apartheid, which is an issue of gender. Hence, we're in a gender struggle now, that women must be empowered, women must be in strategic positions, women must lead in structures because of the gender struggle, but also have an issue of race, which South African economy in the main is divided on the basis of racism. White people are still in charge of our country, whether we like it or not. More than 90% of our economy belongs to the few whites, which are liberal in form and character. It belongs to them. And they are less than percent in terms of population size. But in terms of our economy, they own more than 90% of our economy. Then we have the issue of class, the rich and the poor. Hence, we are the most unequal society in the whole world, in South Africa. We even surpassed Brazil. We're the most unequal society in South Africa, as we're speaking now. Hence, we're saying these three issues are supposed to be resolved. If you resolve them, if you deal with the issue of class, race, and gender, then the NDR has succeeded in South Africa. But we are veering off from the NDR, unfortunately, because of our policies, because our policies are not seeking of transferring power from the people who are holding power, as we're speaking now, are not doing that, are maintaining the status quo, which is making most of our people, including me and you, to suffer in South Africa after 30 years of democracy. Up until we are not apologetic, up until we are saying everybody must live a better life, people must own the means of production. The majority of people must own the means of production. People must give given land, and when they are given land, they must be assisted to utilize the land, like what apartheid did in 1948. Apartheid was never apologetic. They gave white people land, and they assisted white people. So they went to form all the cooperatives. They call them cooperatives, but those are cooperatives in terms of the SACP language. And the cooperatives were funded by government. So poor whites were able to be rich as a result of government that was supporting those people by that time. Hence, we're saying even now, land must be given to the people, and the people must be assisted to utilize the land, but also people must be assisted to get markets. Because when you go to China, especially the villages, you'll find people in villages that are doing agriculture, but also the government is there to avail a market. Immediately you have production that is made, there's a market that you must sell.
Interesting fact, the SACP, where does it stand in terms of the expropriation of land without compensation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Samayende. You know, the first organization to call for a summit of land in South Africa was the SACP. The first organization. In terms of our Red October program, it is us who said, Mawubuye umhlaba ezandleni zabantu. And we called a summit to that effect, where we invited all progressive parties, including the ANC, in that summit, where we're able to unpack what do we mean when we say Mawubuye umhlaba ezandleni zabantu. So that was expropriation of land without compensation, because this land was taken from it was stolen from our people, and the land must be given back to the people. So that is our position, to say land has all the means of production you may think about. Even ocean economy is found in the land. You speak land about everything is found in the land. So our people must get land. We support fully expropriation of land without compensation. That it must be given to our people. Actually, the revolution is about land. If you don't talk about land, then we are not talking about the revolution. Because even the very same government want to have land to develop the country if land will belong to the hands of the private sector. The government don't have even land to make developments all over the country. So the revolution is all about land more than anything else.
Yeah, but according to you, as the SACP, this land, if it belongs to the people, what does it mean? It should belong to the states, or it should belong to individuals? Communities should be communal land, or what do you mean?
That's a very good question, Mrs. Amayand. You know, states change from time to time.
Yeah.
You will understand that National Party was in charge of the state.
Yes.
Well, state and government are two different things.
Yes.
But now the ANC is in charge. So if you are saying land must belong to the state, it means to say when the ANC loses power, the party that will come will be in charge of the land. So the land is not belonging to the people. What we're saying in the South African Communist Party is that land must belong to the people. People must have ownership of land. Okay. And the people must be assisted. It should not belong to the state, because if it belongs to the state, then it's a challenge. Well, the state must have its own land for development and other things that it may want to do. But people must own land, because people used to own land. And that area where people were owning land, to us communists, we regard it as communism, which was without technology. But people were owning everything, because even diamonds, gold were belonging to the people. They were even decorating their houses with gold. People were rich. They were rich, but they could not trade with those things because of technology. But they were rich. They have land, they have mineral resources, they have natural resources. If you want vegetables, you'll find them in your land. You want fruits, whether indigenous or whatever kind of a fruit, you'll find them. If you want a stand for human settlement, you'll find. So people must own land. It must belong to the people. That is our stance as a South African Communist Party. Land must belong to the people.
Okay, I get you. I'm taking you back to the issue of ideological differences now. You have deployees as the SACP in government. People, your members, leaders are ministers, MECs, in whatsoever capacity they have been allocated. So now, how do your deployees deal with these differences now? Let's say I'm a minister, but I've got to implement the policies of the ANC, which may be clashing with what the SACP stands for because of the ideological differences. I don't know how do your deployees deal with that situation? How do you advise them to deal with it?
It's a very difficult situation. But all what we can say is that SACP do not have ministers. Ministers, MECs, members of legislatures and parliament are belonging to the ANC. That is why we have a dual membership. And when you're deployed to government, you go to government through processes. We're subjected to processes of the ANC. Who must be nominated by branches of the ANC, who must be shortlisted, must go to interviews of the ANC. The formulation of cabinets are decided by the ANC. So there is no minister or MEC of the South African Communist Party there. Well, we advise our comrades to behave differently when they're in those positions, but they don't have much space to operate because they are guided by policies of the African National Congress. Those are some of the things which we normally raise with the ANC, because when we challenge the policy position and direction of the ANC, we need policies that are going to assist both ministers of the SACP and the ANC to always represent our people, because we are now having austerity measures. Budget are cuts left, right, and to the center. Workers are without protective clothes or instruments of trade. Most positions are not filled. because of austerity measures.
Yeah.
So you come up with very good policies, but the treasury will just come with austerity measures. And as a result of that, now we are constrained. We are unable to implement clear policies that are going to assist workers, that are going to assist the people on the ground for development, but also that are going to assist us, because we want to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And a capable, ethical, and developmental state need workers to occupy positions so as they are able to give services to the people. But they must be ethical to that matter, and be able to build a state which is going to be able to even punish capital. When capital is out of order, the state must be able to can punish or discipline capital. But you are unable to do that when you're confined to austerity measures from time to time, and you can't even control your own government. Capital is gaining more momentum in our own government. Hence, we're saying the 30 years of democracy has benefited capital more than the working class and poor people. They are smiling to their banks, making money even out of our own government. The money that they made in the last 30 years, it's a lot of money as capitalism. And the working class, unfortunately, in terms of the real statistics of unemployment, it's getting to 50%. And the majority of those people, which are more than 70%, are young people, which are sitting on a time bomb, because if more than 70% of young people are unemployed, anything is possible in the country. We're sitting on a time bomb. Anything, these people can easily get mobilized to rebel against the state because of poverty that they are facing from time to time, and the frustrations that they are going through, because they are neither in school or tertiary institutions, and they are also not in the workplace to make income out of it. So that is creating a frustration to young people in South Africa, and it's precisely because of our economic trajectory, but also the austerity measures that were coming up from time to time as government.
Yeah, exactly. It's issues of budget, but it's issues of maybe not enough investment coming into the country. I don't know, broadly, how will you change the situation of unemployment as the SACP if you had power? Create jobs, make sure that most of these young people are employed, are absorbed into the workplace. If not, they are at school.
Look, the government, Mr. Samayan, is having a responsibility to create jobs for the people. And if you look manifestos of all political parties in South Africa, none of them is not talking about creation of jobs. It's not true that the private sector is having a responsibility to create jobs. Private sector is not having an obligation to create jobs for the people, because they don't contest, they don't campaign for elections. But we campaign for elections, and when we campaign, we promise people a better life. And a better life is about the creation of jobs. And if you want the economy to grow, people must earn wages or salaries so as money can circulate in the hands of the people. And as a result of that, you have the economic growth. So if the SACP can be in government, indeed we're going to use the public sector to create jobs. Because as we're speaking, there are many positions that are not filled, but also we can create more jobs. It's not true that there is no money in South Africa. There is money in South Africa. South Africa is a rich country. In actual fact, there should be nobody in South Africa that can go to bed without food. We are the richest country in the continent, followed by Egypt, and thirdly by Nigeria. So we have an economy that can feed all people of South Africa.
But it's in small hands, it's in fewer hands, as you said.
The unfortunate part, yes, population. We are correct, Mr. Samayende. The unfortunate part of it is that the economy is in the few hands, and the few hands are not willing to share the economy. All what they can do, they will prefer to have the primary listing of their companies, especially the big corporations. They prefer to go and invest in London Stock Exchange, invest in New York, take all our jobs outside the country. As we're speaking here, there is 3 trillion of rands that is sitting It's not invested in the economy. It's just sitting as liquid cash invested. And that money is supposed to be invested in the economy. So as we are able to industrialize South Africa, where people can find jobs. So as government, we need to create jobs, but also need to create a platform for the private sector to come and invest their money to the economy. Force the private sector to come and invest money, to put clear conditions for them to put money in the economy. But also we need to contest the private sector. We can't leave the banking sector to belong to the 4 commercial banks. It can be. We need a state bank that is going to contest that space, that is going to give direction to the banking sector of South Africa. But also you need the central bank, which is going not to always chase after inflation. Our state bank is having a responsibility according to the constitution that it must create jobs. It must fight against poverty. It's in the constitution that the Reserve Bank must fight against poverty and create jobs. So you can imagine if the Reserve Bank can announce that, no, in South Africa we're going to reduce unemployment with 10%. They can create a lot of jobs. And the government said, no, we're also going to create jobs for our people. The government can create jobs. And they will stop going to IMF and World Bank to make loans that are unnecessary.
But
because
who are the shareholders of the central bank, Reserve Bank? Are they not private individuals too?
It's a matter we need to discuss as a country, because that is another danger. That is another danger. We are having a central bank that must belong to the state. It's belonging to people that we don't know. That's another danger we're sitting on as a country. It's a debate that we need to have. And I agree fully with those that are calling for the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. Well, it's not an easy issue. We have to pay a lot of money out of it, but it is going to benefit our people. And we're going to have a Reserve Bank that will have interest of our people at heart. Not this thing of always announcing repo rates going down with 25 basis point, going up with 50 basis point. You know, we are not intervening to the economy of our country by so doing. So it's not owned by our government, the Reserve Bank, but it's a matter that we need to deal with it. And we must nationalize a Reserve Bank in South Africa so as it can belong to the people of South Africa. But indeed, the South African Communist Party, if it can take over government, we're going to create jobs for our people, because we know that's all what people want. And if you create jobs, then our economy is going to grow. If Brazil, if China was able to take many people out of poverty through creation of jobs, through creation of business opportunities, because there are those people who do not want to go and work, but they want to run their own businesses. You create businesses, you assist the people to create businesses, but also assist the people to get a market for selling their products, so as your economy is growing as a result of that.
Okay. I understand, but there will be time to discuss these matters individually, deeply, and so on and so forth. The issue of the government of national unity, let me phrase this question this way. What would Chris Hani say about it? You see, now for the first time, the ANC has lost complete control of the country. There's a GNU. What would Chris Hani say or think about this if he was still alive? Are you able to to be in his mind?
Mr. Samayende, this is a biggest mistake that we made in our revolution. Chris Hani was going to cry if he was still alive, and we decided to form a government of national unity for no apparent reason, because this is a political choice, and we had other choices to make. It's not true that we did not have other choices. It's not true. The ANC is a majority party in South Africa as we're speaking now. It is having 40%. We needed only 11% to govern the country. So there was no need of a government of national unity.
Yeah.
This is an ideological choice. This is a decision of the elites without the masses. The masses were never even consulted. This is not true that it's democratic centralism, masses participated. Masses were never participated. Even structures of the ANC, this decision was imposed on them. Was imposed. So it's an arrangement of the elites. It's selling the revolution, by the way, because according to the National Democratic Revolution that we spoke about earlier on, the chief enemy of our National Democratic Revolution is monopoly capital.
Yeah.
Now, a representative of monopoly capital in the form of DA and Freedom Front Plus, you are saying you want to form coalition with those organizations.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of that? You're selling the revolution. It's a representative. They will never one day wake up and say, we are for the poor people in this country. Actually, Helen Zille said it several times that they were representing business. They were not representing the working class and poor people. And it's them that saw the coalition of ANC, EFF, and MKP to be dangerous for the country. So they ran a propaganda that this will be the collapse of a South African economy if the organizations are going to be in a coalition. The ANC must be in a coalition with DA and other parties. So we betrayed our revolution. And I can assure you, ideologically, the ANC and DA are different. The ANC, in terms of Morogoro Conference, in terms of its manifesto, represents the poor and the working class in our country. DA is representing the rich people in this country. So they will never agree. That is why all relevant policies that must be implemented are suspended.
Yeah,
Talk about NHI. NHI is about a universal healthcare system where people must get quality healthcare in this country. Whether poor or rich, you must get to any hospital. Get a doctor of your choice, get medication that is going to make you to be cured. And as a result of that, you are able to contribute to the economy of this country. DA, because hospitals that are making a lot of money, which even through government, with our medical aid, we go and support them, is making a lot of business and profit out of medical aid. They don't want NHI to be implemented.
Yeah, true. Because I've realized that there have been clashes now in the GNU. I mean, the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, BELA, it has been an issue as well. It highlights the differences now that are there. That actually things are not actually working well. It's not, everything is not going well as it's supposed to be with the GNU government. Do you think it has a future? Can it last the next 5 years without a split? Or
no, it is not going to last. I can say it without any contradiction. A GNU is not going to last in South Africa, whether they like it or not. It's not going to last. If it will ever last by any chance, I can assure you the setback we experienced in 2024 is going to be double for the African National Congress. It's going to be double because our people right now are feeling that we are bringing back colonialism through a back door. We are bringing the white supremacy. We are bringing white people to come and oppress them. And the manner on which DA and Helen Zille are moving around showing arrogance out of the GNU, it reminds our people of apartheid. So it will never last in South Africa. I can assure you the ideological differences are so huge. You can imagine the president of the country would go to Russia for a BRICS summit, and one of his ministers, John, the chairperson or president of DA, will say the president is not representing us. It's coming from his own cabinet. He can't say such a thing, but he's saying no, he's not representing us in BRICS. Why the president attended BRICS? You can imagine he was saying the war between Russia and Ukraine. Actually, there must be peace, but for Ukraine being supported by NATO, we don't think there is a fair play. But DA will go to Ukraine, and after they visit Ukraine, they just come back. They don't even go to Russia to show that they want peace. You can imagine our stance on Palestine was saying there must be peace in Palestine. We took, Israel to the ICJ, but DA will come up and say, no, Israel is correct on what they are doing. So the ideological differences are so huge in the GNU. And it will never last. On the Betrayal Act, like we spoke about it, want our black people to go to the schools of white people. Want them to go classes and being taught in their vernacular language. Siswati must be utilized. They must use the sports field that are found there, whether rugby, cricket, or whatsoever. But white people do not want our black people to go to classes with their children. They don't want our vernacular to be taught in their school. They want Afrikaans. And that's how they stopped now. Betrayal Act, Special Section 4 and 5. To say they must defend Africans. Their schools must be for white people only. Few black people can be there, but the majority of them must be white. Actually, they don't want even our people. It's because of changes that we have the few black people. So, excuse me, I have a bit of a flu. So in South Africa, white people did not change. Actually, they are so arrogant. When you go to farms, the manner in which they are treating our people, they are so arrogant, white people of this country. They will never change, I'm afraid. Not the current generation. Perhaps the coming generation will change. The current generation, which will feed their pigs with a black woman, especially in Limpopo, which will get their dogs in Governing Bay, Secunda. They get their dogs to kill a domestic worker and leave that person to stay for 3 days without even reporting that their dogs beaten a domestic worker. I mean, I don't see white people changing in South Africa. It's all about themselves and themselves only. So GNU will never succeed in South Africa, unfortunately.
But what should the ANC have done in this situation? They say we've got a vote below 50%. In your opinion, as the SACP, what should the party have decided to do in order to rule the country, in order to get the majority that they need to rule the country? What was the right step that they should have taken?
The ANC, as it correctly characterized itself to be a disciplined force of the left representing the working class and poor people, biased to the working class and poor people to that effect, had a choice. Had a choice. The ANC was supposed to form a minority government, not GNU.
Okay.
Not GNU. GNU is a transition. We're transiting from apartheid to democracy in 1994. Hence, we had GNU. But now it did not need GNU. So the ANC was supposed to form a minority government with only 3 or 4 parties. Not all these 10 parties that are in the GNU. 3 or 4 parties that are representing the very same constituency, that is ideology, perhaps not equal the same with one of the ANC, but those that are also fighting for the former oppressed people in this South Africa that are disadvantaged, who must benefit out of our revolution. So the ANC, they had to form a minority government and not the GNU, because now this is a rightward shift of the ANC. You know, this is creating serious problems to the NDR, because this is emboldening neoliberalism, what the ANC have done. It's and it's a rightward shift. The ANC is shifting from the left towards the right-wing organizations, which are DA Freedom Front Plus, and the likes. So doing that, you are betraying the people that you represented, the people that fought for you, Chris Ane included, who died for this country to be liberated. We are betraying them. We are saying no longer believe on what you were fighting for since 1912 up to date, but also what our people in South Africa has fought for close to 400 years, because there have been wars, there have been struggles in South Africa led by kings and chiefs fighting for South Africa to be liberated. So we are betraying all those attempts for people to liberate this country. Hence, it's wrong. It's betrayal of a revolution for the ANC to form a GNU in South Africa. Well, we understand as communists that this decision was influenced by a neoliberal faction in the ANC. The neoliberal faction, which is now believing on capitalism, which believe it is their time to get rich through government, which they were holding secret negotiations with DA long before elections were held in South Africa. It's not true that after elections there were negotiations about GNU. Those discussions were held long before elections, and they were just exposed after elections. That is why the negotiating team for GNU excluded SACP and COSATU, because they already had a framework of what they wanted to do, and they said COSATU and the SACP are going to delay them. So they must go on and implement the GNU, which they thought about. We saw the announcement of a GNU on a Thursday late in the evening when the president went to address the nation. Yeah. You can imagine what the alliance partner. We were always in the common struggle with the ANC. Yeah. We shared trenches with the ANC for more than 100 years. But we saw the announcement of a GNU, which was including DA, on TV on Thursday night. And the following day, Helen Zille came to expose that, no, it's not a GNU. It's actually a grand coalition between ANC and DA. She even exposed a signed letter between Helen Zille and Balula to say, no, there's no GNU. It's a grand coalition, and the ANC must behave itself because the letter of content is not saying what the ANC is saying. It's a grand coalition between us and them. And I mean, when we question what is happening, what is this thing, comrades were saying to us, no, look, we engaged all parties, but other parties had too much demands, and we could not afford the demands. The EFF wanted the deputy president, MK party wanted the president to be removed, so we could not entertain those discussions. But they were so patient with DA. That is our problem. Yeah. They were so patient with DA. DA made the very same demand that they want to occupy the seat of the deputy president. They made the very same demand. DA made the very same demand of saying they want sealed positions as DA. But also they said they want to control the infrastructure and finance of South Africa. If we're in the GNU, which they won nationally, they're controlling. Public works belongs to DA. They have a deputy minister, which was never announced when we were announcing a cabinet belonging to DA. In KZN, they are in charge of public works and finance. In Western Cape, they are in charge. We appreciate Gauteng because Panyaza did not play games. He came up with a minority government and excluded DA. And we appreciate Panyaza provided leadership. Panyaza is a leader. He understands what we are standing for as the ANC headed alliance. So he did not play with power. That's what we're supposed to do when we're in power. So that's what all was saying, that we needed to have a minority government, not this GNU. It has no meaning. All over the world, the meaning of a GNU, when it is formed, is either the left forces wants to dislodge the right forces, or the right forces wants to dislodge the left. That is the intention of a GNU. It's about dislodging one another from power. But in our case, capitalists were in charge of negotiations for the GNU. That is why DA is in the GNU.
Exactly. And your exclusion as the SACP and the other alliance partners in those discussions, is it the reason now that you have decided that you're going to contest the local government elections as the SACP for the first time?
Well, Mr. Samayende, let's put it clear for the People's Eye listeners. We are contesting elections in 2026. We have taken that decision. And we contest elections on behalf of the working class and poor people because we want to change the status quo. Want the economy to belong to the people. Want the people to get jobs. Want to fight against poverty. Want to deal with the issue of the rich and poor, the class issue as the class organization. This decision was taken in 2022 for the SACP to contest elections.
Yes.
It was not taken now after the formulation of GNU.
Okay.
It was taken in our 15th National Congress, 2022, that the SACP must contest elections in 2024. That decision was quite clear, that 2024 we must contest elections. So, but when we analyze towards the 2024 elections, we realize that the domestic capital, which is monopoly capital, working with imperialists, are having a clear plan to take over government in South Africa. Actually, Helen Zille said it several times that in her lifetime she wants to see the ANC out of power. She even called for America to come and monitor elections in South Africa because she did not believe that IEC is going to monitor our elections. They went even to form a Moonlight Pact where organizations like UDM, IFP were brought together to say they are forming a coalition to take over government. They went to Poland with the South African media houses, with the opposition parties, with the other opposition parties in SADC region. You are UNITA, you are RENAMO, you are MDC from Zimbabwe. They went to Poland to plan how to take over government in South Africa, but also how to take over government in the SADC countries. And they agreed that the media houses are going to be mobilized to run a campaign that the ANC for the past 30 years did nothing in South Africa. And there must be change. So voters in South Africa must vote for change. That was a propaganda run by a DA with monopoly capital and the imperialist. And they further funded and established small parties. Bosa, parties were established and funded with a lot of money, which to our surprise, they did not fund the progressive forces. Even ANC did not get funding from monopoly capital. So you can see that capital came to politics and contest the political space because they wanted to take over power. And when the South African Communist Party was making an analysis, who said, no, our revolution is under attack. If we dare contest elections in 2024, then we're going to divide the liberation forces in this country. And the opposition, assisted by monopoly capital, is going to take over government. And they were forced as a result of that to go and support the African National Congress to win the 2024 elections. Hence, it is a majority party right now. But unfortunately, just unfortunately, immediately after elections, the very same ANC that were defending went to form a coalition government with the very same organizations that were planning to remove it from power, led by TA. They went to form a coalition government with those parties. Then we're saying, now, but what is this thing? We're defending ANC against all the parties that are in the GNU right now. But the ANC went back to those parties and formed a GNU, which was not necessary. We needed a minority government in South Africa. So we're disappointed as a South African Communist Party. But our decision is not emotional. It's a decision that was taken by Congress and we're supposed to implement in 2024, and we had to wait to try and defend our revolution. We did not succeed to defend our revolution, and we analyzed the outcome, the setback of our elections. We are aware that many workers were disappointed. They could not go and vote. Some of our members voted for opposition parties, and they openly defied us to say, no, comrades, but you can't vote for the ANC. There's no change. Because the national grievance in South Africa now is change. People want change more than anything else.
But what I want to know is, okay, you said obviously SACP members, it's obviously every SACP member has got dual membership. SACP, ANC. But how many members does the SACP have? And do you think you can really win some of the municipalities in 2026? And maybe which are those where you think you can really win?
Mr. Samayen, they were contesting elections to win municipalities. We're not contesting elections just for the sake of contesting elections. Hence, we're saying our decision is not emotional. We are going to win municipalities. We have more than 300,000 members as a South African Communist Party.
Okay.
We are working with COSATU because we're the left axis. COSATU is having more than 1 million members. Yes, last night we met with Nehau in the province, which is having more than 28,000 members. As Nehau alone is having more than 28,000 members.
Yes.
We're meeting with SATU before end of the week, which is having more than 30,000 members. We shall be meeting NUM before we go to the special congress next week, which is also having plus minus the very same numbers that they are having. Remember, the National Congress of COSATU, which said last year, has clearly pronounced itself to say if the SACP takes a decision to contest elections, COSATU is going to support the South African Communist Party.
Yeah.
So, well, it may not be all members of COSATU that are going to support the South African Communist Party, but majority of COSATU members are going to support the South African Communist Party. But also within COSATU, we have members of COSATU that are disappointed who are no longer voting for the ANC. One amongst other issues is the bargaining council, which 2018, the government and the COSATU with other federations took a decision for salary increase, which was never implemented. So they are still angry. But also, the austerity measures are directly affecting workers in this country. So within COSATU and outside COSATU, we are having workers who are no longer voting. Remember, in South Africa, we are having more than 11 million people that are not voting. And that is the target which we're going to target as a South African Communist Party. But also the traditional leaders who have very good relations with the contraless in the province and in the country as a South African Communist Party. But also all formations, which you call them the rudimentary organs of people's power that are found located within the masses. The SACP is going to work with them because contesting elections is about them. So we shall have a situation that is similar to Bolivia, that is similar to Venezuela, where fronts are taking over government, not a political party, a front which is going to be led by the party, but also any political organization can lead the front if we only agree what do we want to do to change the lives of our people in South Africa. So we're going to form a front, Left Popular Front in South Africa, which is going to contest elections. And where I'm seated, I'm convinced that indeed we're going to win municipalities in 2026, but also in 2029 we're going to take over government in the province and national as a South African Communist Party. Because the national grievance now in the country, and even international, is about change. People want change. People are saying for the past 30 years, we have been voting. But we're voting, we're not working. I am having 3 degrees, but I don't get a job. So why are you saying I must go and vote? I don't get electricity, there's a load reduction, and all those other things that we are saying. There's no development services, I don't get them. But I'm voting for government to be in power. Because when you are voting you to be in a political office, in a form of government, that office is political power. And when you get that power, what we expect as a South African Communist Party is to utilize power to defend the working class and make them to be the ruling class, which you must transfer power from those that are ruling. The ruling class in South Africa now is the bourgeoisie, is capital. Hence, they're having more than 90% of our economy. Those are ruling, they are ruling the countries. ANC is government, but you have ruling class. So we want the working class to be transformed into a ruling class, to take over government, to own means of production, to be employed, to enjoy a liberation in South Africa. So policies that we're having as the SACP are very much convincing, And I can assure you we're going to take over municipalities come 2026 as a South African Communist Party.
But then what does this mean, your decision to contest elections? What does it mean to the alliance? Is it a split? You no longer you're breaking off from the alliance, or what does it mean? Or are you going to continue? If you're going to continue to be in the alliance, in what form or shape? Because obviously you're contesting each other now.
It's a very good and a difficult question, Mr. Samayenda. But we're not contesting ANC. We're contesting state and popular power. And our alliance was not formed on the basis of contesting elections. Okay. This is a revolutionary alliance for the SACP and the ANC. Okay. So our alliance will continue on issues of democratizing South Africa. We shall be working together with the African National Congress. But on class issues, which is about bringing socialism, the SACP must lead. The SACP must lead to change the economy to favor the majority of people in the country, the class that is poor as I'm speaking now. Yeah. So our alliance, we're not breaking the alliance. Yeah. The alliance will always be there. Well, we shall discuss about the dual membership of ANC and SACP, but we're not seeing anything wrong for the dual membership of the ANC and the SACP. We think it should always be there. On strategic issues, we shall be working together. But like what we did in Mpumalanga in 2016, if you may remember, the SACP contested elections in Mpumalanga, and the mayor of that municipality was coming from the SACP.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
So in an instance of Mpumalanga where the SACP or the ANC do not get an outright majority, we're not going to be drunk with power and go to DA and the Freedom Front Plus. The first organization to consider will be the ANC, to say, no, we can form coalition because we are sharing the very same ideology with the African National Congress. We think we can be able to transform a life of our people together. But want an absolute power, want to take over power as the SACP. We don't want to be found wanting, want to take over power, want socialism in South Africa, and want to ultimately bring communism in our country, and don't want to get permission from anybody when we want to make trades with other countries, because now in South Africa we are too careful. Look at our manifesto, said we're going to build a refinery oil in South Africa, and the countries like Venezuela, like Russia, are saying, no, look, we have an abundance of oil. Yeah. If you want oil, we can assist you to form a refinery. You can't imagine in Venezuela, a liter of oil, I mean a liter of petrol is cheaper, less than a price of a bottled water. It's less than 10 rand a liter of petrol in Venezuela. Actually, we're told it's around 4 rand. Petrol price in Venezuela. So I can imagine if we're going to have our refinery oil in South Africa, we're going to import oil direct from Venezuela, and the economy is going to grow, but the prices, which are experiencing a cost of living now, where our people are unable to buy because of the prices that are there. So we're going to reduce prices, the economy is going to grow. We shall be better off. Hence, we're saying we need to take over government. We need to work with countries that are having a direct interest of South Africa in terms of development. Want to work with China, want to work with Russia, want to work with Venezuela, want to work with all other countries all over the world, but countries that are having a direct interest of the South Africans, not those that wants to loot our resources and leave the country poor as we are right now.
So the decision to contest, there's no turning back this time. As you said, you took the decision in 2022, that resolution, but in 2024 you decided, no, let's help the ANC. But now, are you saying it's final? you're going to contest local government elections and also the general elections in 2029?
This decision is final and is going to be pronounced by a special Congress that is starting 11 to the 14th of December next week. It's a final decision. Remember, we have started to discuss about contestation of state and popular power since 1998.
Yeah.
That's how far we started to discuss about this issue. 1998 up to date, we're engaging about contesting state and popular power. We are not a league of the African National Congress, but also we're not an NGO or a political party. A political party at some stage must take over government and lead people. The reason why the party was formulated is to take over government and use state power to develop people of South Africa. So it's a final decision that we have taken. We are going to implement it. We try to defend the revolution within the ANC, believing that the National Democratic Revolution is going to be implemented to its logical conclusion through the African National Congress. But now we have veered off from the NDR. Actually, the NDR is on the reverse as we're speaking, especially when you look what is happening in the country. We spoke about the issue of race, that it is becoming worse. We spoke about the issue of class, that is worse, we are the most unequal society. The gender-based violence and femicide is just getting worse. Crime in South Africa, the streets are taken over by mafias. It's getting worse. So you need change in South Africa. And the change must come in a form of the South African Communist Party. Hence, this decision is final. And we've already registered with the IEC. We are there in the IEC. We have registered with the IEC long time ago because we knew that this period come. So ours now is to prepare our manifesto. The Special National Congress will deal with a strategy, how we're going to contest elections in 2026. And at the right time, we shall come up with a manifesto, how we're going to contest. But it's a final decision. We're not going to change on this one. Otherwise, if we change, then we must close shops. In the politic body of South Africa, if the SACP is going to change its decision now, then we're going to be useless. Actually, we must close shops. We shall be irrelevant. Nobody's going to take us serious. Even workers, which are relying on us now, because the hope of workers and the poor people in South Africa is the South African Communist Party. So if we are not going to be representing them in the ballot to come 2026, we must just close shops.
Exactly. And the main issue you're raising is that you want to take power back, or not back actually, for the first time, to the working class. Do you think with the BEE policy, the ANC did not help in taking power to the working class, but continued creating the elitist class, now including the black people as in that class of the elite? So in essence, I'm trying to say, to ask a question, was the BEE policy good or bad?
The BEE policy never assisted the ANC. Actually, most of the challenges that we're having in the ANC as a result of BEE, the divisions, the fighting of positions, factionalism, the degeneration of ideological outlook of the ANC, it's as a result of BEE. It never assisted the African National Congress. BEE, when Jeremy Cronin explains it, he will say, you want to run business without capital. So automatically you're going to rely to the state 100%. And as a result, you're going to be parasitic and compradorist because you don't have a capital. So BE invited criminals to come and contest ANC so as they can take over structures of the ANC, lead them such that they can be close to government in order to take over tenders. We're talking about construction mafias today. Construction mafias is a result of BE. They want to take over tenders. Some of them are leading ANC structures because they want tenders in the African National Congress. So it never assisted the ANC. In actual fact, some of our comrades are even co-opted by monopoly capital because others were given shares which they did not work for them. You're just seeing yourself owning shares in Standard Bank and the monopoly capital has captured you. Now they must tell you what to do because we are sitting in a board of shareholders without having bought shares in that particular company. And we are rich for that, man. They have a lot of money.
But you don't know how to start a business from scratch.
You don't know how to run business. You don't know profit and loss. You just have money coming from manna. Like manna from heaven.
Yeah.
So BEE never assisted the African National Congress. Even the triple BEE, broad-based black economic empowerment, never assisted. Only the few, like you're saying. The elites that benefited, but also brought serious problems in the ANC because all the fights, you can think about the Zuma, Mbeki differences as a result of a tender, a lot of divisions in the African National Congress were as a result of BE. It never assisted the African National Congress. I'm afraid all what we're supposed to do was to transform the economy in South Africa. And unfortunately, in South Africa, was still using economy that was used by apartheid. So it did not touch economy. We think the less than 10% economy in government can empower people of South Africa. Government is owning less than 10% economy. The more than 90% is in the private hands. That's the economy must be worried about to transform. So as it will go to the hands of the majority of people which are the working class and poor people. So BE never assisted, but rather created challenges, and it has created crime in South Africa because now we have all forms of mafias you may think about in the mining sector, in the construction, all over the show we have crime that we're even unable to control as government.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but yeah. Let's move on to our neighbors here, Swaziland. I don't know. As the SACP, where do you stand? There's been this struggle for democracy, while the king claims that it's a democratic system, the Tinkundla system. People are voting in Swaziland and all of that, but there are still complaints from the people on the ground. There are political organizations, men are being formed, to continue the struggle in Swaziland. It's the struggle for democracy. As the SACP, where do you stand and what do you think should be done or you are planning to do to help whoever we are helping in Swaziland?
No, Samayende, in Swaziland there is no democracy. There is autocracy. There is autocracy. That Nkundla system is an autocratic government. Mswati is everything. He's the president, he's a minister, he's a premier, it's everything. And unfortunately, it's only Swaziland all over the world that is governed by a king with the Nkundla system, which also is not a democratic arrangement, the Nkundla system. Swaziland must be governed by political parties. We have political parties in Swaziland, many of them, Podemo, Communist Party of Swaziland, and a number of political parties. Which their leaders are arrested, they're getting killed from time to time because Mswati do not want to introduce a democratic dispensation in Swaziland. There is no democracy at all. And our stance is quite clear as South Africa, that Mswati must allow the democratic process to take place, must allow the country to be governed by political parties that are representing the masses of Swaziland. Kings all over the world are given their own space as traditional leaders. You go to Lesotho, you go to Britain, kings are playing their role in society as kings. But political issues must be dealt with by a political organization. So Mswati is autocratic. And unfortunately, we have that arrangement in Swaziland only. All over the world, you don't have it, even including in Iran. In Iran, there are political parties that are running the country. So we don't support the Mswati and the Tinkundla system. Want to see a democratic breakthrough in Swaziland. The people of Swaziland must be liberated. A majority of them are in South Africa because they are running from Swati because they will be killed or arrested. Some of them get killed in South Africa, like Dr. Kumba, former deputy president of Pudem, was killed here in Bombela. The current president of Pudemo was poisoned. He was nearly killed as well. So that shows you that in Swaziland, there is no democracy. Political parties are not allowed. Last year, there were uprisings from students, and close to 100 people were killed. So what kind of democracy that is killing its people? Close to 100 people were killed, demanding for democracy in Swaziland. So as the South African Communist Party, we want to see people of Swaziland getting liberated. And we're calling upon our alliance partner, the African National Congress. They have very good decisions from their national conference to support the struggle of Swaziland. The ANC must support the struggle of Swaziland. We are aware now that they established a commission from ANC to go and look as to what is happening in Swaziland, which is led by Khatebe, this comrade Khatebe, I'm just forgetting his name. Yes, there's a commission now that is on a mission to find out what is happening in Swaziland. We believe the African National Congress is going to intervene in that situation because Mswati is relying to South Africa 100%. The economy of Swaziland, that Lilangin, is relying to South Africa 100%, even though they get their money through the Customs Act. But truth be told, they're relying on us. And that is why their municipalities are even having relations with Bombela and Nkomazi and other municipalities in order to check up the economy of Swaziland. So if the ANC can take a decision, you can be able to liberate people of South Africa as the African National Congress. But also the SADC and the African Union, we think they are not firm when it comes to the issue of Swaziland. They are really not firm. People got killed, they did not intervene. There's no democracy in Swaziland, they did not intervene. So we're calling upon SADC and AU to be clear when it comes to the issue of Swaziland. They must take decisions. You know, the problem of the world, as we're speaking today, is precisely because of leaders that are unable to take decisions. They're in positions but unable to take decisions. And that's what creates all the challenges that we're having. Even internationally, we are looking to the UN. Decisions, even the courts, adjudicate over issues that are affecting people, particularly the people of Palestine, but those decisions are not implemented. So the issue of holding power, elected in a leadership position, and we are not taking decisions, it's a problem. In leadership, whether good or bad, whether it favors you or if it doesn't favor you, you rather lose a position. But decisions must be taken. Leadership is all about taking decisions, and they can't be in your favor at all material times. So SADC and the AU must be decisive when it comes to the issue of Swaziland. Those people must be liberated.
But why do you think they are not decisive? Because they went there, there was this after the insurrections in 2021 in Swaziland. They went there, the SADC, well, they proposed a dialogue, that the king should have a dialogue with all the political and civil society formations, which didn't happen. And then the matter has been left hanging. Why are they toothless, especially when it comes to Swaziland?
No, I think our leaders are having a fear of the unknown. There might be things that we don't know, which we don't want to allege, but they're having fear of the unknown. In most of the time, when AU or SADC is visiting a particular country, decisions that are taken are worrisome. Now they went to Mozambique, there were elections. I mean, I did not hear a clear pronouncement from leaders of Africa about the elections in Mozambique.
Exactly.
I didn't. Where there is a crisis, we're afraid to come out clear and say, this is what must happen. We have wars all over the continent. In DRC, we have wars for quite some time now. Rwanda and other countries are alleged to be fueling those wars, but our leaders are quiet. We have wars in Sudan. For more than 30 years now, people of Sudan are dying. But AU is quiet. Nothing that they are doing. So we don't take and enforce decisions, because decisions must be enforced. We don't take and enforce decisions. It's what is happening all over the world. You know, a country like America will take a decision and enforce it against the UN. Like when they alleged Iraq to have nuclear weapons. They went to bomb Iraq and enforce their decision that there are nuclear weapons, which finally did not come out with those weapons. But I'm trying to emphasize the point that a decision must be taken and a decision must be enforced. You can't just take a decision which is toothless. You can't. Otherwise, we're going to have all these challenges. So same applies to Swaziland. Decisions have been taken, but those decisions are not enforced, and nothing is happening. Mswati will participate to SADC as one of the leaders in SADC, will attend all meetings while this country is not democratized, and want a democratized Africa, want to silence a gun in Africa, but we're doing something opposite. So leaders must be capable of taking decision. Leadership is all about taking decision. Otherwise, you cease to exist, you become useless if you're elected in a position and they don't take decisions. Leadership is not about hugs and kisses that you want to be loved like money. It's only money that can be loved by everybody. But being a leader, you can't be loved by everybody. So that's why you need to take decisions. And especially when it is a principled decision, you're convinced that you are doing the right thing, then a decision must be taken to that effect.
So do you think South Africa should do as America does, be decisive and take a decision?
No, indeed, South Africa must take a decision. South Africa must take a decision. It may not arrive to a point of sending soldiers to go and arrest Mswati. I remember at some stage we sent soldiers to Lesotho, South Africa. It may not arrive to that point of sending soldiers. But if South Africa can say, no, Mswati, as the South African government, we are no longer working with you because you are not a democratic country. So we're cutting ties, we're sanctioning Swaziland. But I can tell you, Swaziland can come to its senses. If South Africa can cut ties, if we can sanction, look, ESCOSAT and the SACP, we normally go and close the border gates of Swaziland. For ordinarily, we do not have energy to close the border gate for the whole day. But we close the border gate for 2 to 3 hours. And I can assure you, after 3 hours, when we leave, we find many trucks. Many trucks waiting to enter because we close the gate for those particular hours. So I can imagine if you can say no longer trades between the two countries who are sanctioning Swaziland. Swaziland is relying to us. Then Swaziland can come to its senses. So we must put clear conditions to say these are the conditions. Want exiles to return back home. Want all the prisoners to be released. Want democratic dispensation to be implemented. Want a government that is going to look after the transition between the autocratic government to a democratic government. So want a government that is going to oversee that process as South Africa and say, if you are not going to do all these things, then we're sanctioning you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mswati will come to his senses. I can assure you, if we're going to do that. Mswati will come to his senses. But up until you take decisions and we implement those decisions, then Swaziland will continue as it does now. It's so painful when you go to Swaziland. Many people are suffering.
Yeah.
At some stage, I learned from the print media that people are using a cow dung in order to drink ARVs. The manner in which people are suffering.
Yeah.
They can use cow dung just to eat ARVs because you can't put an ARV in an empty stomach. So that's how far people can suffer in that country. And up until you do something about it, then we shall be able to liberate Swaziland. Before we go to arms, because we accommodated by Mozambique ourselves when we're fighting against apartheid, our soldiers were here. So before we even go there, that you can allow the people of Swaziland to come and train in South Africa so as they liberate themselves. Let us just put clear conditions that these are the things that we want to see on place so as we liberate Swaziland.
Yeah, exactly. But no, there's been this wind blowing in Southern Africa. You've seen in Botswana the liberation movement lost the elections recently. In Namibia, almost the opposition has garnered enough votes to challenge SWAPO head to head. Botswana, Namibia, even in Mozambique, you see the rise of political parties opposed to the liberation movements. I mean, it has been happening all over Africa, of course. Taking from the discussion that we just had of the Liberation Party taking a new liberal agenda, a different agenda from what it was supposed to do from the beginning. Is it the same in the other nations?
Indeed, it is the same, Mr. Samaya. And remember, I spoke about the meeting in Poland, which included opposition parties in SADC region.
Yeah.
All these countries were represented in that meeting, including the media houses. So SADC is under attack. You must also include South Africa. Because for ANC to perform less than 50%, it's a clear agenda of the imperialists. They want to remove all the liberation forces from power so as they're able to take over.
Yeah, I do get that point of the imperialists, as you say. But now we're having a situation where you, as an alliance of the ANC, you're saying, no, we're going to contest on our own because having the ANC in power is not serving the working class. It might be the same in the other countries, Zimbabwe, Botswana, wherever, that look, the issue here is that we have seen the one particular group owning the means of production in the economy while the majority of people are suffering. To me, it looks like it's the same. Without excluding that meeting in Poland that you're speaking about, which is a different agenda that outsiders still want to control countries in Africa. But there's this issue, the elephant in the room, that liberation parties are not benefiting everybody in the economy. Still, they create their own elite group to benefit. Don't you think it's the main issue even in the other nations, in spite of the Poland meeting that you're talking about, which is a different agenda?
I wanted to come to that point. I wanted to come to that point that one, it's an agenda of the imperialist. All parties that are anti-colonialism must be punished and must be removed from power. It's a clear agenda. But secondly, it's a point that we made earlier on to say worldwide there is a national grievance of change.
Yeah.
There's a national grievance of change worldwide, including the elections that took place in America now, where the Democrats were removed by the Republicans because majority of people wanted change. So that is the second aspect, especially young people who are saying we're coming from school, want jobs, want developments, but the current government is not providing. So we shall rather vote for any party that is contesting elections. You know the situation of South Africa. Zuma is alleged left, right, and to center with corruption. Actually, when you take a decision as the SACP, we're saying it's the ANC can form a minority government, but the state capture party for Zuma should not be included. Also, the party that is representing monopoly capital, which is DA, should not also be included. Zuma is alleged left, right, and to the center, but is now having a following in South Africa, precisely because of change that people want. So that is the second aspect. People want to change. They can vote for anything that you bring to them because they want change. But those things are not sustainable because most of these parties are influenced by imperialists, but also they are the cult of personalities. They belong to individuals. So look what is happening now in the MKP. I mean, people are appointed, people are removed from positions now and then. I mean, you are a member of the parliament, the next thing you are removed from parliament. It's a cult of personality, which are not sustainable. You look what is happening in EFF, also a cult of personality. But when EFF began to contest elections, was supported by many people, including young people, because they wanted change. They wanted something different. And now as EFF is exposed that this thing is a cult of personality. It does not have an agenda of changing lives for the people. Hence now many people are leaving, including their leaders, are leaving EFF. So it's what is going to happen with MKP. It's what is going to happen also in Botswana after PDP was removed from power. It's what is going to happen in Mozambique if really is the allegations that Frelimo did not win elections. It's what is going to happen. But those organizations are highly funded by imperialists, just to remove organizations that liberated those countries, because their agenda is not pro-imperialism. It's all about majority of those people. Yes, also ourselves, like in our country, we get those positions and we begin to be complacent and forget that the ticket which made us to be into power is all about transforming society and make people to live a better life. We forget about those things and think about ourselves to say, myself and my family and my friends must benefit out of this power. And the people are not stupid. They are seeing all these things that we're doing. We display wealth, big cars, we display expensive alcohol, we go to poor villages and do all those stupid things in front of the masses. Masses that do not have even a bread to eat the following day. They don't have anything to eat before they go to bed, which were unable to change their lives while we're given power to be in government and change their life. So it also boils down to such things where parties are failing to change lives of the people. Look, we're given enough time. 30 years was more than enough in South Africa. PDP in Botswana was given 58 years, close to 60 years. That is more than enough to change society. But people are still poor in Botswana, unfortunately. Frelimo also came into power during the 1980s. Mozambique was supposed to be better by now when we're in power. So, yes, there is those decadence to our parties when they're in power. and it creates a lot of problems.
Yeah, true. Okay, let's move on to local issues in Mpumalanga, where you are the secretary of the SACP. One burning issue for me has been you've been vocal the past few years about the unresolved political killings, which those cases are still unresolved up to today. We don't know who killed Jimmy Mohlala, Semi Mpahlanyane, those were the two main ones, but I understand there are many people who have died for political reasons, for exposing corruption in government. Where are we? You've since become very quiet about those issues. Everybody's forgetting about them, but they've always been there. And I remember at some point Betrayal was the National Commissioner of Police around 2011, 2012. You were demanding answers. He eventually became the minister. The momentum had somehow fizzled out, but you were still demanding answers. But now you've been quiet. What's happening with those cases?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Mr. Samayende. Look, we even marched to the office of the National Commissioner about these issues. We also paid a price for fighting against the killings in Mpumalanga. Some of our leaders, like Bomba Njangas in Betrayal, was killed for fighting against corruption.
And I understand Jimmy Mohlala was your member as well.
Jimmy Mohlala was our member, was killed, and a number of people that were killed in Mpumalanga. No, what we achieved out of this campaign was to avert our people to continue to be killed, because in Mpumalanga it was a norm that every year a leader must be killed. We're asking ourselves when January comes as to who is going to be killed.
Who's next
this year? So for the party to be vocal against political killings, we think there is an achievement. Well, there are weaknesses, but there is an achievement, because killings are no longer happening as they used to do, because we reached a stage where we said, no, man, but people can't continue to kill, to die like it's happening. The party is the only organization that is fearless, which can stand up and defend our people. So we fought, we defended them, and we're happy that they are no longer dying. We demanded that an investigation must take place. And I can tell you now that the commissioner came to the province. We invited, the security cluster was involved in our meeting in the provincial office of the SAPs, and were assured that investigations are continuing.
Okay.
And those that are behind the killing of political leaders in Mpumalanga are going to be arrested. So we are waiting for arrest. We are waiting for the report about the killings, which we made it to be a national issue, because even nationally, this issue was also entertained. And they want kingpins to be arrested. This thing of arresting a worker from Rob Ferreira saying he or she killed Jimmy, that thing does not rise. It does not assist us. One kingpins that are behind the political killings. So it is still our campaign, and if people are not going to be arrested, well, as the party, we shall need to resuscitate this campaign and continue to make noise as we used to do. But we appreciate that people are no longer dying as they used to do. And we're waiting for the report and the arrest. We believe the government is going to do exactly what they promised to us. And that's where we are right now in terms of the political killings in South Africa, which were highly disturbing at a particular time.
Okay. Now, lastly, the ANC support in Mpumalanga has gone down 51%, if I'm not mistaken, from the 70s, the 80s, which basically means that the ANC and the alliance being Mpumalanga being the stronghold of the ANC alliance is under threat, the position of Mpumalanga. Well, what do you think? What went wrong in particular in this province? Are there any specific Mpumalanga reasons that saw the voters turning against the ANC in this province, or it's because of common national issues?
I would say, Mr. Samayende, the whole country, the ANC support went down. It's only Mpombo that performed well in the last elections. All provinces. KZN was worse. Yes, indeed, in Mpumalanga, we did not expect to achieve 51%. Because we think people of Mpumalanga still love the African National Congress. But now, the ANC made a public acceptance in 2000 to say we are having internal problems as the organization. We're having divisions within ourselves. We're having ideologically a challenge in terms of understanding issues and our outlook on ideology. We're having sins of incubants, which will be corruption, which will be crime, and all the likes. So in Mpumalanga, also the divisions, the factions. We're telling our comrades at some stage to say, but the manner in which you are so divided, we shall never assist the ANC. Because now will be a dominant faction, and a dominant faction will punish the faction that was dominant in the last elections. It's exactly what happened in our province. It's exactly what happened. The current dominant faction is not working with the faction that was in charge of Mpumalanga in the past. And some of those comrades were even removed from lists. I doubt if they voted, and I doubt if they were mobilizing for ANC. And there are allegations that secretly some of the comrades were mobilizing for MK Party, which might be true. It's allegations, not yet proven, but there are those allegations. So with those divisions, with those challenges that we are having in the alliance, we had to go down to 51%. But also the ethno-nationalism, which was used by MKP, affected Mpumalanga. Because the municipalities that are bordering Mpumalanga, majority of them, if these were local government elections, are lost. It's only Chief Albert Iltulu, if these were local government elections, that were going to win. But all the municipalities in Kharisiband voted for MKP. Actually, in Mkondo, we did not win even a single ward. All the wards voted for MKP. So the ethno-nationalism also affected people of Mpumalanga, which is also informed by a number of political issues that are internal in the African National Congress, because we can't close our eyes and say it's only Kharisiband, but also here in Mbombela, in terms of the last elections, we're at 50%. So if these were local government elections, Mbombela was supposed to be a coalition municipality. Also in Kangala, Emalahleni, Steve Chwete, also we did not win those municipalities. So we have internal challenges as the African National Congress. We are highly divided. The factions are going to cost us a lot. Well, in the alliance, we have tried to improve our relations, because at some stage we had also our battles as alliance partners, where you shall have the ANC that is going to announce its cabinet without involving alliance partners, where the question of getting comrades to go and occupy strategic positions in government were decided by the ANC alone. So we had those challenges in the past, which we tried to correct with the current leadership. But the current leadership, unfortunately, is divided. And up until they wake up and smell the coffee, then Mpumalanga can be better. Maybe the renewal, if the ANC is still renewable, maybe the renewal can assist the ANC to do things differently. But without renewal, it's going to be very difficult. And the renewal is never an easy process. It's never an easy process. If you follow the history of the world, renewal has been successful in one country, if I remember quite well. Yeah, it's one country which was led by Daniel Ortega. Was able to punish even his own friends in the political party for having done wrong things. And society began to see leadership out of Daniel Ortega. And as a result of that, they were able to support the political party, the Sudanese, to take over government. So we need a similar approach in the African National Congress to have a renewal that is not favorable to some of us, where even leaders that are having money to buy branches of the ANC can be told to say, no, comrade, look, step aside. You are unable to lead this organization. Actually, you are the reason why we lost elections. You are the reason why we're divided. So please step aside. Let's get comrades that can lead the organization. I think if you can reach that stage where renewal can be treated seriously, then you can be able to change the percentage that were achieved in the last elections.
Okay. As a parting shot, will you, in light of the fact that you are going to stand for the local government elections as the SACP, would you rather have a weak or a stronger ANC for your chances to win municipalities?
May you say it again?
Would you prefer that the ANC becomes weaker for you to win the local government elections?
Look, we need a strong ANC as the South African Communist Party. That is why earlier on when we speak about the history of the SACP and ANC, we said we spend a lot of resources to build a strong ANC. We want a strong ANC because we believe the ANC is still having a role to play in South Africa. People of South Africa still need to be united. Remember when the ANC was formed in 1912, the ANC was formed on the basis of uniting South Africa. Because leaders like Pixley, Isaka Seme said, no, the divisions are not going to assist us. To say if Zulus, Xhosas, we need to be united so as we can be able to fight and liberate people of this country. So people of South Africa still need the ANC to unite them. That is why we need a strong ANC as the South African Communist Party. We are strong enough to work with a strong ANC, and we think that is going to assist us. If the ANC is going to be weak, we're afraid also our taking over of state power will have challenges, because there will be no strong organization that is going to challenge us from time to time. We need a strong organization that will be able to challenge and caution us from time to time. And they will have that responsibility of building a strong ANC in our country, which is going to work to our advantage if the African National Congress is strong. We can't afford to have a weak ANC, but also want a strong COSATU in South Africa. They are experts on dealing with issues of labor in this country. So we want a strong COSATU in South Africa. We want also a strong SANCO. By the way, Mrs. Amayende, SACP established trade union movement in South Africa. We established trade union movement in South Africa as the South African Communist Party. Also, SACP, through its underground work, established a civic movement in South Africa, which finally launched SANCO in this. But SACP, through the work of Joslove and other leaders of the SACP, established the civic movement, because we said want to build rudimentary of organs of people's power, and the people's power must be led by a civic movement and other organizations on the ground. But also SACP strengthened the ANC when it was a native organization.
Yeah.
We made the ANC to be vibrant. So all this organization, it is in our interest as the SACP to have strong organizations so as we're able to govern this country, govern it correctly on behalf of the working class and poor people. Because for us, it's not about blue lights, it's not about getting into positions. You know, if we shall reach a situation where they will be each according to his ability and each according to his needs, even sitting at home, seeing Mr. Samayende leading government, I will be very much happy. I will be very much happy because I will know that I have a meal to eat before I go to bed. I will know that my child will access institutions of higher learning without frustration. They can study until they become doctors, like it's happening in Cuba, without any frustration. I will know that anytime I get sick, I will just go to any hospital where I will get a quality health care. So sitting at home, seeing government that is taking care of my interest, I mean, most of us as communists won't be frustrated. And that's all what we want. Hence, we want a strong ANC to be in place when we take over government.
Okay. No, it will be clearer after next year's elections. Should you win the elections, then it will be clearer practically how the relationship is. I guess as you explain it in words, it's not clear. We don't have a practical example yet. Let's hope so. But anyway, good luck. And thanks for making time to chat to us. Hopefully there will be a second leg of discussions, especially as we approach the local government elections.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samayende. We also enjoyed to have an interview with you, and we're looking forward to have more interviews in future with the People's Eye. We're also looking forward to the future of this country. The future of this country is safe and guaranteed under the leadership of the SACP. And we shall be working very hard. We've been working very hard. We shall be working more harder now towards 2026, because we believe our people are deserving better than what they are going through now. And their confidence is with the South African Communist Party, so we shall never disappoint them. Thank you very much.